Hey guys, it's John Chihak of Anti-Hero Brand Press. I am back to talk about my top 5 favorite comic book movies. Now, as with any of my top 5 or favorite lists, it's going to be my favorites as of the recording of this video. I'm going to go in reverse order this time, so I'm going to go from 5 to 1. Picked a fairly obscure movie that some of you may or may not have seen, and if you haven't, I do highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It's called Super. It's from the early 2010s. Stars Rainn Wilson from The Office. Also in supporting roles are Liv Tyler, Kevin Bacon, Michael Rooker, and Ellen Page as the sidekick Bolty. Rainn Wilson plays a late 30s, early 40s, kind of, nerdy, awkward guy whose wife, Liv Tyler, leaves him for drug-dealing pimp Kevin Bacon. And Rainn Wilson, sees her decline, drug use, and things like that. He decides he wants to do something about it. And during the course of the movie, he finds his path to being a superhero by literally being touched by the hands of God. There's a really crazy dream sequence, and if you watch the behind-the-scenes features, it's really great, where they show these tentacles come out, and they actually open up his head, and this thing comes out and, touches his brain, and he's just ignited with the idea to become the Crimson Bolt. Now, Rainn Wilson, obviously not the most physically imposing kind of guy, and he also kind of, I would have to say, loses his shit from time to time in the manner of being the Crimson Bolt. There's one time where somebody cuts in a movie theater line, and he calls the person out on it, and they just basically brush him off, and he goes back and gets changes behind a dumpster, changes in his car, and comes back and then bashes the guy in the head with a friggin' red pipe wrench. Really, really fun movie. Ellen Page, of course, played Kitty Pryde in the X-Men movie series. She's also great in Juno and Hard Candy. If you haven't seen Hard Candy, check that one out too. Kevin Bacon's throwback for comic books is that he played Sebastian Shaw in X-Men First Class, which was a really, really fun movie. If you get past the fact that some of those characters didn't show up until 2005, 2006, and that Alex Summers is somehow older than Scott Summers, and but it is still a fairly fun movie, especially the scene with Wolverine for 10 seconds. That was pretty phenomenal. Number 4 on my list is used to be my number 1 favorite comic book movie, but it's been bumped down based on some stuff that's come out since. Punisher Warzone. Now, this movie is very much along the vein of the Garth Ennis written Punisher series, whether it be the Marvel Knights 2 series that he did or the Marvel Max Punisher series that he did. The body count is well into the hundreds because the very opening scene, and I may be off by 1 or 2 kills here, Punisher kills 31 people. The first 7 of which he kills without using a gun, using a knife, grabbing their heads, breaking their necks, almost kicking their heads off. During the sequence, he actually kills 10 people without using a gun, one in a very inventive way of shoving the leg of a chair through the guy's skull. Great movie. There was some good comedy in it. Some people felt that there was a little bit too much comedy in it, especially for something as dark as The Punisher. But now you're seeing a lot of these movies coming out, like the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Everybody had to have a one-liner. Second Avengers movie, everybody had to be funny. I heard Thor Ragnarok, which I still haven't seen, had a lot of that in it as well, where it was just comedy for the sake of putting comedy in, and it didn't necessarily fit. So I can understand where some people came off, rubbed the wrong way after seeing this movie. But I feel Ray Stevenson, with all due respect to John Bernthal, who does a phenomenal job playing the Punisher, to Thomas Jane, who did a great job playing the Punisher, and even to Dolph Lundgren back in the late 80s for playing the Punisher. Ray Stevenson is my favorite Punisher. He had the physical, imposing look, very, very wide framed. He had the, deviated septum nose, which is from my favorite Punisher run, which was Warzone, where he was drawn by John Romita Jr. You also got supporting casts like Martin Soap in the movie, so there was a good reason for some of your comedy being brought in. Comic book tie-ins in this is Ray Stevenson played Volstagg in the first two Thor movies. Again, I haven't seen Ragnarok, so I can't say if he's in the third one yet. Please let me know in the comments if he is in the third one. Colin Salmon, who plays Agent Budiansky in Punisher Warzone. He was the lead star's officer in the first Resident Evil movie, and then he's also Oliver Queen's stepfather in the Arrow TV series. So, I mean, some pretty decent tie-ins with that. Wonder Woman is my number 3 pick. Would have been higher, except a couple of other movies after watching them more knocked it off. The great thing about Wonder Woman is I think even though we waited a very, very long time for it, we got the movie that we needed, the movie that worked best for fans and worked best for the character. I'll be honest, when I saw that Gal Gadot had been cast as Diana Prince and Wonder Woman, I was a bit concerned in the same way as when I saw Chris Hemsworth cast as Thor. I was like, these people are just not physically big enough to play these roles. Chris Hemsworth hit the weights, got a really good trainer. Gal Gadot, I mean, she is a hand-to-hand combat instructor from the Israeli army. So regardless of muscle mass or size, she's still an imposing individual. I feel in the end she played the character extremely well. It was nice to see the backstory of young Diana and to see how she grew up and how she just wanted to be like all the other Amazons who were warriors first and, potters or architects or, painters secondary. I feel the movie, the sequence where she disrobes and climbs out into no man's land and is deflecting the bullets left and right is a very powerful image, not just for women, but for comic book fans in general. When I saw this movie on my birthday, 2017, it was a very, very emotional week for me. One of my dogs had just passed away, and seeing this imagery of strength and solitude really literally brought tears to my eyes in several different scenes. The only things that really knocked it back for me after watching it multiple times, originally, the love story with her and Steve Trevor, I didn't really care for it, although knowing the history of Diana Prince and Steve Trevor, it makes perfect sense, so I can definitely look past that. As for the final battle with Ares, left a little to be desired. I felt it was too reliant on CGI and not enough on just, practical effects and the abilities of the actors to portray that event. I mean, David Thewlis is a phenomenal actor as well. I think it could have gone over really, really well if you had let them be more of the scene themselves. And then the very final scene when she walks out on the balcony and, she knows that there's distress going on and just leaps out into the air and she's flying through the air, just like gliding through the air. Great image, great for a poster, great for a pinup, or great for, a promotional piece. However, not what I wanted to see as the final image in a movie that was so powerful and that so many people agreed was DC's first success in this new run. But still, all things being equal, I believe I graded Wonder Woman an 8 or a 9 on IMDb, so it's pretty high up there. Number 2, Captain America: Winter Soldier. Now, Civil War was a great movie to me, but I feel it was more of an Avengers movie, and it wasn't really a solo character movie. Not that that's what this list is about. I feel once you moved past the origin sequence of Captain America in the first movie and you got to the root of what his belief structure is, and he doesn't like bullies and he doesn't like tyrants, And when he sees something like that, he's going to fight against it. And I think that's the Captain America that we need. And the Captain America that I'm hoping, stays with us even after Chris Evans relinquishes the role to another actor. Bringing back Bucky Barnes as the Winter Soldier, I thought those fight scenes were great. Still one of the most powerful scenes ever in comic book history to me is when he comes back from the mission and they're all in the elevator and the people keep piling in. And they stop the elevator, and he just utters the one line, "Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?" I'm like, that's like utter confidence and something I love. And I've never been a Captain America fan before I saw Winter Soldier and then Civil War. I love the character now, and I especially love Chris Evans' portrayal of Captain America. Number one on the list, and this is about as perfect a movie, not even just a comic book movie, but a movie that you can make in this day and age, Logan. Not hard to outdo X-Men Origins Wolverine. There was a lot of flaws in that, especially for comic book purists like myself. And then The Wolverine, while good, still had a lot of problems to it that I didn't really enjoy all that much. But Logan is absolutely the way you end a trilogy. The old gunfighter who is gun shy. He doesn't want to get involved anymore. He doesn't want to have anything to do with what's going on. He's just trying to make ends meet for him and his friend, who's his mentor, the only one he's got left. I felt that was a really powerful message, and especially after reading Old Man Logan, it really, really made sense to me. The addition of X-23, Laura, I think she did an amazing job. Daphne Keane, I really hope that the New Mutants movie comes off without a hitch. I'm a little worried about it with such a young cast and quite a few characters that are so obscure that I think you can definitely do some really, really interesting things with them without potentially harming them. It was kind of the same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy and Blade. These are characters that hardcore comic book fans know about and have read about. But your general audience is just going to see, oh, it's a dude who's a vampire hunter and it's Wesley Snipes, so that's kind of cool. Or, hey, it's Chris Pratt. I like, Parks and Rec. I'm going to go see this. Or I like Zoe Saldana, Bradley Cooper, or Dave Bautista. And I think you can do a lot more with characters that are a little more obscure or a little more less popular. They're not exactly A-list. But the addition and the awesome thing, I believe Logan was the first Vudu exclusive that I purchased that came with the Noir feature. And I've actually since, and then it comes with the Blu-ray afterwards. And then I bought it on 4K and I watched it the other day with the Noir feature. And it's just such a beautiful movie. Hugh Jackman, another actor who came out of relatively nowhere because American fans didn't know who he was, did a phenomenal job playing Wolverine. I mean, he's way too tall to play Wolverine when you just look at body statistics, but he did such a great job nurturing that character through the journey until the point where you just end it and pass the torch to a new set of characters, which is exactly the way you need to do things. When you're ending one thing, you need to start something else. It's the way they do it in wrestling. It's the way you should do it in comics. It's the way you should do it in movies, especially if you're building franchises, which seems to be the norm nowadays. But yeah, let me know what you think. Agree, disagree. Tell me your top 5 favorite movies right now. Until next time, I am John Chihak from Anti-Hero Brand Press. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/antiherobrand. Thank you.